Welcome, everybody, to Films and Fermentation, episode 91. That's right, this is episode 91 as we continue our fifth season. Tonight's episode is called Right There in Black and White. Once again, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. Guess what? I'm Leo.
He's Leo.
He's Kevin.
I'm Mike.
That's Mike. We're just three friends who like to talk. We're just three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit faced. In this episode, we remove the color filter and return to the simple roots of filmmaking by taking a look at our favorite black and white films. In some cases, it's a classic from the heyday of cinema. Sometimes it's just an aesthetic choice by the film's director. Either way, these color-free films are always entertaining. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. We're looking for some film suggestions, topic suggestions, and drink suggestions. Or you can visit us at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links, including links to Patreon and our Teespring merchandise page if you'd like to support the show. As always, this episode is brought to you by W All Natural Energy Drink. W is an all-natural energy drink. It uses a patented all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you. This ingredient is what gives W its laser focus and fast reflexes, making it perfect for gamers everywhere. W contains important amino acids and vitamins that canned energy drinks simply do not have. W never uses fillers or artificial colors. It's a sugar-free and keto-friendly alternative energy drink. Choose from flavors such as Dragonade, Beach and Peach, and Galaxy Grenade. Guaranteed to boost energy without giving you the jitters. Go to w.gg to order today. Use the promo code FILMSFERMENT and receive 10% off every order, every time. W, be better. W.gg. All right, gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening? Apparently, I've already had too much.
I'll go first. I was given this delightful morsel, which is a little black and a little white. The white, is the marshmallow, and the black would be the chocolate or the beer, as the case may be. This is a s'more stout from Big Muddy Brewing, given to me by my friend Leo here. It is a beer. I'll get more specific in just a second. Well, no, I don't think I can get more specific. It's a stout. It's a s'more stout, and it's 5.5% alcohol by volume. So there we go. Cheers.
Cheers. Michael, what do you got going on?
So I tried to find something that was topic related, and most of the ones that come from movies, black and white movies, one is champagne in it. I'm like, fuck that. So I went with another movie that's not on our list. I went with a movie called Jailhouse Rock with the King Elvis. So I'm having a hound dog.
A peanut butter and pickles hound dog.
No, it's not. It's peanut butter whiskey, moonshine, and banana pudding moonshine.
Wow.
Nice and all alcohol. Nice. Lee, what you got going on there?
I was looking through a bunch of different like black and white inspired drinks, and nothing really like stood out to me that much. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to make it easy on myself. I am going to create my own black and white drink. Very simple drink, good drink. I had a long week and I'm really tired. So I said, let me go with a cup of coffee as my black with a shot of Irish cream as my white.
Nice.
So that's my black and white.
I was looking at some of the cocktails to try for tonight, and there were a couple black and white cocktails, and some of them required coffee, but I just hadn't brewed a pot of coffee for tonight. Plus, I need to sleep. So
there was only one I found that didn't either have coffee or needed half and half, and it was it's called a Tootsie Roll.
Hmm.
And it was
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Kahlua and one of them had orange juice, the other one's like root beer. So like Kahlua and root beer.
Okay.
But
I've heard of it before. I've never had it.
Yeah, there's one I saw that was the black and white Russian, and it was a mix of the dark rum, a mix of the no, it wasn't black and white Russian. It was a black and white Italian cookie, which was a mix of dark rum, mix of light rum, heavy cream, whole 9 yards, and I just didn't have it. So
I did see the one. I did see the first one you said. There was the black and white Russian.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically the two Russian drinks just mixed together.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't really feel like
double the vodka.
I had really thought about it. I could have done a black and white milkshake and just spiked it.
Yeah,
that would have been all right.
I thought about that too, but I was like, you know what? I really could use a cup of coffee right now.
Yeah,
I'm drinking my coffee out of my "I Love You, I Know" mug that my wife got me. Which has a picture of the two of us on the other side dressed like Han and Leia.
Aww.
Well, since I'm doing Old Smoky, I might as well do it out of my Old Smoky glass.
Your Old Smoky glass.
I'm doing mine out of the beer bottle it's fucking coming in.
Yeah.
So
because it's got a picture of you on the label.
It does. Nice. Where we are. Nice smile. The squatch.
All right. Michael, you have a history lesson for us today?
A little bit thinner in the picture.
I do. This day in film history. This day in film history in 1961, Walt Disney's animated film 101 Dalmatians, based on the novel by Dottie Smith and directed by...
Go ahead, impress me with your ability to read that Italian name.
Geronimo.
It's not Geronimo.
No, it's not Geronimo.
That is Clyde Geronimi.
Geronimi. And Hamilton Lusky is released in the U.S.
That's actually pronounced Smith.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, 101 Dalmatians. It's a lot of.
And it's black and white.
Well,
not really, but it's
not black and white. The dogs
all the dogs are black and white. Damn it.
What is? Do you guys have an opinion about the live action remake with Glenn Close in the '90s, or the one with Emma Stone?
I thought the one with Emma Stone was cleverly done.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciated that. I watched that with my students, I guess, 2 years ago, and the one with Glenn Close was good. Anything with Glenn, no. Mm.
And what's your other one you got there for us, sir?
1970, the dark comedy film MASH, directed by Robert Altman, starring Donald Sutherland and Elliot Gout, was based on a novel by Richard Hooker, premiered.
MASH. It's funny. I watched.
Talk about nothing like the fucking series.
Nothing like the series. I love the series. Series is probably my favorite episodic TV show of all time.
Huh.
I love it. Like I go watch MASH all the time. But I watched the series before I watched the movie. So watching the movie for the first time was kind of a shocker when you realize it's not really much to do with like the series.
Right.
Except
and I know I've said this on a previous show, but it's one of my favorite trivia facts. Richard Hooker, who wrote the novel, hated the film version that Robert Altman created. And Robert Altman hated the television series that was based on the film. So nobody liked any of the adaptations that any of them did, really.
Except for Radar, because he was in both.
Except for Radar, because he was in the film and the TV series, yeah. I also loved, like, how was it? The one of the priest in the movie was called, his name was Dago Red. I was like, I guess he couldn't get away with that on national television.
No. There were a lot of things in the movie you couldn't get away with on national television.
I don't even want to say it.
The ringer that they got for the football team.
The name of the black doctor.
Yeah.
they host the guy's funeral because he doesn't want to live anymore, and they have the
Yep. Because of his.
Mm-hmm. And then there's the lyrics to the song that you don't hear the lyrics in the TV series.
No.
The suicide is painless, brings on many changes.
Yeah.
Michael, what is your fun drink fact for this evening?
I'm going to give you guys some beer history now. Although there is much theological and historical debate surrounding this biblical event, some scholars maintain that beer was included in Noah's provisions on the ark, which rode out the great deluge of a speculated 2348 BCE.
Tell you what, if I'm stuck on a boat for 40 days and 40 nights and it's nonstop rain and I got to deal with all this animal shit, plus my family squabbling with each other probably because they're getting tired of looking at each other, I'd make sure I'd have some fucking beer on that ship.
I would
At
too.
least some beer. Definitely some damn bourbon.
There's a good chance some of those animals are going to turn into a buffet as well.
Well, that's why we don't have unicorns.
No more unicorns or dinosaurs or dragons. Eat all the high quality meat first.
That's right.
All right.
Meat.
Notes from the last show. This is by far my favorite Glip synopsis of all time. So last week we did most pause moments in cinema. And this is what Glip had to say about our show. The speakers talked about original Boston Lager, names of the oceans, special effect treatment of transsexual characters, suckers for superhero movies, algorithms, and one big dong.
I don't think it was listening
close.
to the right show.
When did we talk about the names of the oceans?
When I was talking about the scene that I paused in the Three Stooges movie.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was mentioning that there was all these different countries and oceans and stuff that they made up for it. I know the superhero movie thing was when Kevin was talking about Batman and DCEU.
Yeah.
The algorithms had to do with all the weird searches I did for that episode.
Yes.
We certainly know where the one big dong comes from.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, the Boston Lager was what Kev was drinking that night. And I don't know, the special effects treatment of transsexual characters is from the previous episode when we were talking about The World According to Garp with Robin Williams.
Oh, right.
So I don't know how that got kind of brought back again. So it was a big week for award announcements. We have the Oscar nominations as well as the Razzie nominations for this year came out. So let's take a look at, I say we take a look at the Oscars first. So here are this year's Oscar nominations. I was really happy with some of the nominations this year. A, because there were some surprising ones. B, because you had a lot of first timers. And C, it was some movies that I really were hoping would get some nominations. So your Best Picture nominees are All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, which goes into that whole conspiracy theory thing, Mike. Like nobody's seen this fucking movie, but it's up for Best Picture.
Fucking movie.
Banshees and Sheeran. I started watching that the other night.
How much money it's made?
I know. Banshees and Sheeran was Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson. I started watching it recently.
I'm very shocked there was no Ed Sheeran in that movie.
Because he's a Banshee of Ed Sheeran.
That's right. He's the Banshee of Ed Sheeran.
And it seemed like a pretty good movie so far from what I watched. I was nodding off because I was watching it late, so I have to finish watching it. Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is by far my favorite movie in this list. The Fabelmans I haven't seen yet, but I really want to see it. Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. I think from what I've been reading, The Fabelmans sounds like it's probably the front runner. It's Spielberg.
Top Gun Maverick made this list?
Top Gun Maverick made this list, yeah. That's like the sentimental favorite, like when The Dark Knight made the list a few years back.
Dark Knight, the Dark Knight should have been nominated. This is,
I don't know, but Everything Everywhere All at Once is the one I was excited about. Best Director, Martin McDonagh for The Banshees. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneihart, who are co-directors for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. And then your lead actor, Austin Butler for Elvis. He won the Golden Globe, which usually means that he's like sort of the front runner. But I'm really pulling for Brandon Fraser in the Whale. Best lead actress. I love Ana de Armas, but I don't think she has a shot. I would love Michelle Yeoh and Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I would love to see her win it. She's the first Asian actress to be given a Best Actor nomination.
Wow.
Yeah, but I think from everything I'm reading, it sounds like Cate Blanchett is pretty much got this one locked up. Supporting actor is Brendan Gleeson for The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, Judd Hirsch for The Fablemans. Judd Hirsch, his first Oscar nomination, and he's in like his 90s. Barry Keoghan for The Banshees, and Ke Huy Quan, good old short round, got himself a nomination for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Nice.
I saw him in an interview the other day, and he goes, I never thought in 40 years in this business I would ever have the adjective Academy Award nominee come before my name. So I'm really enjoying his run right now this year.
Yeah.
Supporting actress Angela Bassett for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, who is actually the front runner right now. And if she won, not only would she be the first actor nominated for an MCU movie, she'd be the first one to win for an MCU movie. And then I would like to hear Scorsese and Tarantino complain that they're not real cinema.
They will anyway.
And then you have all your others like cinematography, screenplay, and all that. But I just wanted to look at the top nominees. So some that I'm really excited about, and some that I'm hoping, I really, really hope Kwai Yuen Kwang wins for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I want to see short round the Oscar winner. Your Razzie noms, which are of course the opposite of the Oscars. Worst picture, Blonde. That's the Marilyn Monroe picture with Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
Disney's Pinocchio. Good Morning, The King's Daughter, and Morbius. I think Morbius is the front runner right now. Worst actor, Machine Gun Kelly for Good Morning. Pete Davidson's voice in the Marmaduke film. Tom Hanks as Geppetto. I wonder how many times Tom Hanks got a Razzie nomination.
Yeah.
Jared Leto for Morbius and Sylvester Stallone for Samaritan. I think Jared Leto's got the lead on that one too.
Yeah.
They recently took this girl's name off the worst actress list, Ryan Kiera Armstrong, for the movie Firestarter, because she's only 12 years old. And there was a lot of backlash about them giving a Razzie nomination to a kid. So they took her off the list, and they made an addendum to it saying that nominees from now on will have to be at least 18 years and older. It's not really fair to rip on a kid,
No.
Bryce Dallas Howard for Jurassic Park Dominion. I don't know some of these other movies that are on the list.
No.
Worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. Worst supporting actress. Oh, I've watched the 355 with Penelope Cruz. It wasn't that great a movie. Worst supporting actor, Pete Davidson. Tom Hanks again. Look at that for Elvis. And worst screen couple. I like that. Tom Hanks and his latex-laden face for Elvis. Andrew Dominic, director of Blonde, and his issues with women. That's awesome. That's really good.
Characters in the
fallacious White House bedroom scene. So is a scene between her and JFK. That's great.
I don't know. This is kind of making me want to see Blonde.
I started watching it. It's a really long movie, man. It's over 3 hours. And so like I did the same thing when I watched The Irishman. Like I watched it in parts as if it were like a series. So I've watched like the first hour so far, and it's not great. She's really good as Marilyn Monroe, and I'm not just saying that because it's Ana de Armas. Like she's actually really, really good as Marilyn Monroe. All right, so those are our Razzies and Oscar noms. Let's take a look at a hypothetical question. This hypothetical question comes from All Hallows Eve, one of our most endearing podcast family members out there. And I chose this question because it has a lot to do with that previous Fandalorians episode that you spoke about, Mike, where they were talking about conspiracy theories and how Avatar is making all this money, but nobody seems to have seen it.
Yep.
So All Hallows Eve asked us this question, which is pretty related to it. What movie did you refuse to see because of all the hype it was getting? You know, so this movie comes out, it's getting all this, like, you know, all this hype online and in commercials or whatever it might be, and you're like, I'm not going to go see that. It's just that's the hype machine pushing it.
Every DCEU movie that came out.
I don't even know if there was a hype machine behind it. Usually it was just people bashing them.
Well, there was a lot of hype for, like, you know, Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Justice League.
I have to say, like, right now, it's like Avatar: Way of Water. Like, I don't want to see this movie, even though it's apparently like.
Either.
I mean, even though it's apparently, like, you know, breaking all these box office records, like, I could care less. I didn't like the first Avatar film. I mean, the first Avatar film I thought was better back when it was either Pocahontas, Dances with Wolves, Last of the Mohicans, you know. All those
you want
movies.
An honest answer from me, though?
Sure.
The one that I didn't go see for the longest time, or actually didn't see because of all the hype, was the original Black Panther.
Okay.
I thought it had too much hype to be as good as people were saying.
See, I went to see it early, like when it first came out, because I wanted to, like, kind of go in without any sort of, like, opinion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up liking it a lot because of it.
Oh, yeah, I liked it once I watched
it's a good movie.
I didn't go out to see it because I thought it was just too much hype.
The problem is, like, I see so many movies, even overhyped ones, that it's hard for me to say, like, what's an overhyped movie that I refuse to go see, because normally I end up seeing movies anyway. So it's like the
Joe's Apartment.
Joe's Apartment.
I know the movie.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Here you go. Mike's found my overhyped film.
They see, I would say Citizen Kane. I've never seen that, and I really don't have a desire to.
I will say this, you know, as opposed to, like, Wonderful Life, where everybody's like, well, you got to see that, you got to see that. I'm not going to tell you got to see Citizen Kane, but if you ever sit down and watch it, it really is an amazing piece of cinema. I don't know if it's the greatest movie of all time anymore. I mean, I'm sure something might have surpassed it at this point. Oh, what's the one, like, I'm like really, like, I'm pushing right now to try to figure out, like, what's an overhyped movie that I haven't seen yet and not sure if, The Greatest Showman.
Huh.
I think that's like an overhyped film, and I haven't seen it yet. But for anybody out there who's wondering about the It's a Wonderful Life statement, I have never seen It's a Wonderful Life. I have seen millions of movies. I have seen some of the worst movies that mankind could ever produce. I have seen some of the best movies out there. I have seen movies of all different genres and whatever. You know, I watch foreign films all the time. I just love movies. I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life. And it's gotten to a point now where I refuse to watch it because whenever somebody says to me, I can't believe you've never seen that before, it makes me smile.
Which is very surprising considering how infatuated you were with Donna Reed.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the Donna Reed show. Something about those 1950s housewives, man. All right. Our shout outs this evening are brought to you by the Fandalorians. I'm going to pause for a second so you can listen to this promo from the Fandalorians. Teachers by day, nerds by night.
Hello, everybody. Let me ask you a question. When you were a kid, did you ever wonder what teachers talked about in the teacher's lounge?
You probably didn't miss much. It's usually boring stuff like grading papers, lesson planning, and then figuring out the new train schedule.
Train schedule?
Well, I teach in the city.
But sometimes, at one of the not-so-cool tables in the back of the teacher's lounge, you might find us, the Fandalorians, teachers by day, nerds by night.
My name is Mr. Richardson, and by day, Mr. McDonald, Mr. G, and I teach and inspire America's youth.
But by night, we debate, discuss, and argue about all things in the pop culture universe on our podcast.
We discuss all the biggest pop culture topics in the world, like Ozark, Stranger Things, The Marvelous Miss Maisel, Marvel, Star Wars, Top Gun Maverick, The Old Man, Bridgerton, you name it, we'll probably discuss it.
You guys watch Bridgerton?
Yo, season 1 of Bridgerton was awesome. You don't know what you're missing. Since we are teachers, you will always get a ton of background information about our topics and original teacher-themed segments, like our pop culture morning announcements, building meetings, and post-observation reviews of shows and movies. Oh, and arguing. You'll get lots of disagreements and arguing, like way more than I'm comfortable with.
You can find us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Just search for The Fandalorians, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night.
Then join us every Monday as we look into the current state of fandom and pop culture.
Hey, look, the bell's about to ring. We need to head to the buses. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Well, I mean, they're not going to see us because this is a podcast.
I know.
But they can't even see us when you think about it, so they won't see us either.
Oh my God, you know what I meant. It wasn't literal. Just ring the bell. Ring the bell.
The Fandalorians, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night. I hope you listen and subscribe to us soon.
I hate you guys.
Our shout outs will also include. That's you, Mike.
Manic Pixie Weirdo Podcast.
Recasted 2.0. Thanks, guys.
The Mr. Gentleman podcast. Mr. Gentleman wrote to us on Twitter of our Robin Williams episode. You got to check out Films and Fermentation. They did an amazing episode on Robin Williams. Check them out. Thanks, Mr. Gentleman.
We want to give a big shout out to Bar Banter.
Space Castle, who's responsible for our logo. Thank you so much, guys. It's awesome.
Of course, the founder of our Good Pods podcast group on Twitter, to the Wrestling World with Austin Boyer.
Want to give a big thank you to We Laughed and We Learned.
They also wrote to us on Good Pods, actually. They listened to our Robin Williams episode as well and said, he gave us 3 little heart emojis and said, wonderful tribute. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much for the shout out. We really appreciate it.
And we're also thanking the fan in the van down by the river. Thanks, guys.
Of course, All Hallows Eve. They have a great show. You guys got to check them out. They're always shouting out to us. They're good people. Stay spooky, my friends.
Want to give a shout out to You, Me, and a Movie with Donald. No pizza.
Pizza. Thanks to Wrestling Fans in Sight.
This is a new podcast on our shout out list. Average Joe Sports Talk Podcast, who recently followed us on our YouTube channel.
Nice.
People are watching us?
Yeah.
Give a big shout out to DJ Scoob at the Undiscovered Entrepreneur.
And a big thanks to the Voice of Four? Wouldn't it be Voices of Four? Voice of Four, right? Voice of Four.
Voice of Four.
Right. One voice, but 4. Voice of Four.
I listened to DJ Scoob's most recent episode. He had on this gentleman who was who started a bunch of like businesses, and one of his businesses is about augmented reality and virtual reality. And it was a really cool episode. And I reached out to him about it because it's something I try to use at school a lot because that type of learning helps the students that I teach. And he said he would be nice enough to give me that guy's information if I wanted to talk to him. So thank you to DJ Scoob for being a good guy like that. Our main good guy. Our main segment this evening, of course, is brought to you by Newsly.
Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Follow any topic from sports, tech, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description and use the promo code ANDFERMENT to receive a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling. Start listening.
Newsly.
Copy. Just asking. So our main segment this evening is black and white films. Black and white and red all over. So how should we do this? Should we go through each of our lists, or do we want to do like back and forth and go with one on mine, one on yours?
Let's do back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay. So with my list, I decided to start. Before we do the list, I'm going to show that clip I showed you guys last week from that movie.
Yes.
So I have a movie clip here. If anybody's watching us on YouTube, you'll definitely see this. If you're listening to us on Good Pods or Spotify or wherever you listen to the show, I'm showing a clip from this film. This film came out in, I want to say 1937. It's a crime thriller called The Octopus. And in this scene, this quick little 20-second scene, we have this actress who's yelling at these men in the scene. You find out that she's the villain. And they do this amazing transformation where her face goes from normal to like dark and scary and scarred. And it's like a quick 5-second transformation, but it's really amazing. So I'm going to share my screen so I can show our viewers this clip here because it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring this up here, and let me bring this video up. And you don't have to really worry about the sound too much. It's more about the visual here, but I'll kind of describe what's happening. We got this lady fighting with these men, and then she's laughing, and then this amazing transformation.
She was giving them a pasta recipe, wasn't she?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I thought it was. It was like, you want to know how I make my meatballs?
And the thing that's amazing about it is it's and this is why it's one of the things I like about black and white films is some people knock them for being like old or whatever, but that special effect in that scene where she transforms suddenly was done using special makeup and lighting effects that can only be done with black and white film. It's impossible to do that kind of practical effect with color cinematography. So that's just something I wanted to say about black and white films. So the first movie on my list is, so I did mine in order from oldest to most recent. And the first one on my list is a silent film from 1927 called Metropolis. The first time I saw this film was when I was in college. I took a couple film classes because why not? If you're somebody who likes movies as much as I do. And I was amazed by this because it's a silent film, as I said, 1927, in a futuristic city sharply divided between the working class and the city planners. The son of the city's mastermind falls in love with a working class prophet who predicts the coming of a savior to mediate their differences. But one of the things that makes this film so amazing is this transformation scene where this scientist is working on this robot and he transforms the robot to look like a real woman. And the special effects on the transformation scene are amazing for a film from 1927 that's also a silent picture. So I'm going to share my screen again just so I can show this real quick. Tell me if you guys can see the video.
Yes.
All right. So you don't got to worry about hearing anything. Like I said, it's a silent film. So I'm just going to show you this trans. So this is the mad scientist, and he's working in his lab. And then here's the robot that he created, and his transformation from robot into android that looks like a woman.
It looks like C-3PO.
It does look like C-3PO.
He changes it to a sex doll? What?
Yeah, pretty much. Look at it. Look at like this is 1927 silent film. Like how did they do this? And oddly enough, if you look up, and that's the actress who the robot turns into. So I just wanted to show that because I was amazed by that the first time I saw that. And a little side fact on that, as you said, the robot looked like C-3PO. If you go on Google and you Google search the original production designs for Star Wars, which are drawn by Ralph McQuarrie. Ralph McQuarrie was the conceptual artist on the original Star Wars films. His original design for C-3PO looks very much like the robot from Metropolis. C-3PO had a lot more of a feminine look to him before the final production. So that was my first.
And then they made him a more masculine outside, but kept the feminine.
Yeah, we
inside.
kept the feminine inside by hiring Anthony Daniels. So, Mike, what's the first one on your list?
I got the 1942 classic Casablanca.
Yeah,
Here's something to chew in.
One of the most misquoted movies in film history.
Right.
Because I
like
think
that scene
the
where
line everybody
Humphrey
says,
Bogart is, watching Bernadette Peters get on the plane, and he goes, "I'll be right here."
Good Lord!
Oh man! Not only did you imagine,
not
only did you imagine, did you manage to bring in an actress who wouldn't be born for another 20 years, cross-reference it with a film that wouldn't come by for another 40 years. That's amazing.
He never said
the answer to everything.
He never said play it again, Sam.
Yeah, he never says play it again, Sam. But that's the line that people seem to quote from this film all the time.
He can handle it. I can handle it.
Yeah, one of the best final scenes in cinema history.
Yeah.
Winner of 3 Oscars.
Best Picture.
Yeah.
Best Picture.
And he needed to stand on boxes next to Ingrid Bergman.
Common trope in Hollywood.
I'm getting the actress wrong again. All right, it's not Ingrid Bergman.
It was Ingrid Bergman.
It is Ingrid.
It is Ingrid Bergman.
Yeah. Ingrid Bergman. Yeah.
Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Writing Screenplay. Also was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Cinematography, Black and White, Best Film Editing, and Best Music Score of a dramatic or comedy picture. So it was nominated a lot.
Nominated a lot. None of the acting categories won though, which is crazy.
I'm surprised she wasn't even
nominated.
Nominated.
So I like Kevin's first pick.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I got to thank my mom for my interest in old movies.
Hold on, Kevin. I got one more thing I found fascinating about this movie. It's about World War II in Germany, around Germany in Casablanca, filmed during World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy.
It is.
I mean, they were pretty safe considering they probably filmed it on a Hollywood soundstage, but
true.
But go ahead, Kev, with your pick.
Sorry, Kev, go ahead.
Mine is a holiday classic. I consider it a holiday classic. It's really just set against Halloween, but there's no tie to Halloween aside from it being a weird, I guess, dark comedy, right? Would that be a dark comedy?
I would say so,
there's murder involved.
Yeah.
It's Arsenic and Old Lace, 1944, starring Cary Grant and hold on one second. I'll make sure I got everybody here. Priscilla Lane. It actually had somebody. Well, I think he was in Casablanca. Peter Lorre. Wasn't Peter Lorre in Casablanca?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. He was. He was arrested very early.
Yeah, Dr. Einstein, and Raymond Mason. It's just a funny comedy about just a man and his aunts and how they kill old men who seem lonely because they think they're doing a service to them. It's great. It's Cary Grant and some of his best work, and I just love it. I really do. And this was based off of a Broadway play, which actually it starred. Why can't I think of his name? Frankenstein's monster.
Boris Karloff.
Boris Karloff, right? And the running joke throughout it is the character of Jonathan Brewster, who's a tall, menacing villain who has had multiple plastic surgeries done. Everyone keeps comparing him to Boris Karloff, but the character was played by Boris Karloff on the stage play. So
I have another one for you. On your recommendation, because you always talked about this movie and I had never seen it, I decided to watch it one night. But to my surprise, I wasn't watching the right one.
Oh.
So I was watching a 1963 TV movie version of Arsenic and Old Lace that starred Tony Randall as the main character. But funnily enough, starred Boris Karloff as the character that's constantly mistaken for Boris Karloff, which I thought was really good. And it was odd because the movie came out in 1963. It was a TV film, but looked worse than the movie that came out in 1947. Like, this movie was so grainy, it could have came out in 1927. Like, it was old looking. So I still have yet to see the actual Cary Grant version.
Really?
Yeah, which I'm assuming I'm assuming it's definitely better than the one I watched. So I will definitely watch it at some point. It's not like
I have it on DVD. I can definitely lend it to you.
It's not like It's a Wonderful Life where it's just a matter of principle at this time that I don't watch it, but I will definitely check this out.
Your hatred for Jimmy Stewart.
Nobody hates Jimmy Stewart.
Nobody hates Jimmy Stewart.
That's like hating Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
So the next one on my list, God, I love this movie. It's so weird. This one came out in 1932. It's one of the early talkie films. It's called Freaks by Todd Browning. Circus's beautiful trapeze artist agrees to marry the leader of the sideshow performers, but his deformed friends discover she's only marrying him for his inheritance money. And the thing that makes this film so crazy is that it actually stars real sideshow performers from 1932, including 3 people with they call them pinheads. They have I can't think of the name of the disease they have, where their heads are really small and they got like the minds of children. There's a guy in here. There's a guy in here called What's that?
They call him Kevin.
Oh, Kevin? No, that's not right, because Kevin brings the pretty.
That's right. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
How dare.
Microcephaly, that's the name of the disease that they have. But it's just such a weird movie. It's a horror film essentially that kind of exploits these people to make them the horror part of it. But deep down though, it's supposed to be a film about how loyal all these performers are to each other, because they're the only people who kind of accept each other. But it's got one of the most iconic scenes in it where they decide that they're going to welcome this woman in who's marrying their leader, and they sit around a table going, "You're one of us now, one of us, gobble 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 gobble, one of us." And it turns out to be one of the creepiest scenes in the movie. And then there's a great scene with this guy called the Human Snake. It's a man who was born with no arms or legs.
Ooh.
But he does this trick where he rolls and lights a cigarette with just his mouth. And it's pretty amazing, impressive. Pretty amazing to see. And that's one of the big scenes in the film as well. So each of like the performers in the film who play the freaks kind of get a little bit of a showcase for each of the characters. It's a movie that was banned for a really long time in many different places for pretty obvious reasons. But if you're somebody like me who loves cinema and you like, especially weird, obscure cinema, look for Todd Browning's Freaks from 1932. What do you got next there, Mike?
You got from 1962, the John Wayne and James Stewart classic, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
It's a great film.
Great film. Also has Vera Miles and Lee Marvin as Liberty Valance.
Early Lee Marvin film.
Yep.
Isn't there a Billy Joel song?
What's that? Liberty Valance?
Yeah. Am I thinking the right thing? Billy Joel, didn't he do a song about Liberty Valance?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No idea what you're talking about.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so this is one of You knew I was going to put a John Wayne movie on here anyway because
Yeah,
you know I am. It's one of those. The movie basically is the Jimmy Stewart's character is a senator who returns to a western town for the funeral of his old friend, which is played by John Wayne, and he tells the journalist there the real story of what happened and who actually really did shoot Liberty Valance. And the line at the end is classic, I think. When they start tearing up the story, and he's like, "You're not going to print it." He's like, "When, no, sir.
When the
This is
legend
the
becomes
West.
fact, print the legend.
Fact, print the legend."
It goes. It kind of goes to show you like what stories were like in the Wild West kind of thing. Like how much of it is true, how much of it is just embellished for the sake of selling stories.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, when they find out the truth at the end, he rips up the paper and he's like, "Sir, when the legend becomes fact, you print the legend." Such an iconic line. And I find it amazing. Like, this is another John Ford film.
This is John Ford. Yep.
And yeah, and I think it's one of John Ford's best. But it's not one of the ones that he won an Oscar for.
Oscar nomination.
Yeah, like it, and John Ford wasn't one.
No,
of
it was only Oscar.
Cinematography.
Yeah, it was only nominated for
costumes. Yeah, like that's ridiculous because I feel like this is probably one of his most famous films. And you also said you have Vera Miles in it. She was in The Searchers with John Wayne.
Yep.
And she was also in
Psycho.
Also has she was the sister investigating Janet Leigh's death.
It also has Lee Van Cleef, which is from the Bad, the Ugly.
This is like a who's who of like Western actors from that time period.
Oh yeah.
Lee Van Cleef, Strother Martin was in a bunch of films. Woody Strode, they were all in a bunch of like Western films. John Carradine, Lee Marvin, of course, John Wayne, James Stewart. Great film, man. It was a good choice. When I saw your list, I was like, I knew you were gonna have a John Wayne one on there, and I was like, it's a good John Wayne one to pick.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have a second John Wayne one on there too. So
I do.
So, Kev, what's your second one?
My second one kind of is a nice follow-up to the first, which is another Cary Grant movie, Bringing Up Baby from 1938.
Mm-hmm.
It's Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn, one of, 3 movies that they may have done together, maybe more.
Yeah, they did, what did they do? Fair to Remember?
They did, they did A Fair to Remember. They did The Philadelphia Story. They did Holiday. So this is pretty much just a really uptight, serious paleontologist played by Cary Grant, who is, engaged to another very serious, uptight scientist. And there's this whole situation around this dinosaur bone that he's supposed to collect. Somehow gets intertwined with Katharine Hepburn's character, who's Flibberty Gibbet. She's kind of like, what's the word I'm thinking of here?
She's flighty.
Yeah, flighty, free spirit. But then the relationship between them, though, it's the little. Oh God! Come on, think of it. They're at each other's throats through most of it. They end up falling in love with each other, and it's a funny movie. They remade it in a different way back in the 1970s, and they made it "What's Up, Doc" with Barbra Streisand, and this is just a favorite of mine.
It's the better of the two.
Yeah.
You left out the best part. That baby is a tiger.
Baby is a tiger. Baby is a leopard. A leopard.
Actually. I'm sorry. Bringing up baby. Baby is a leopard.
Bringing up baby. Baby's a leopard, and it's a pet to Katharine Hepburn's character, and a loon. They do the they do the loon noise.
I'm looking at the silent trailer playing on IMDb right now. There's the funny scene where he's wearing her robe.
Yes.
Bringing Up Baby. I haven't watched this one in a really long time.
Oh, it's a very good movie. It's funny because I talked to Megan about what we were doing this week, and she said, "Well, do you want to watch the Philadelphia Story?" And I was like, "Okay, and that was okay too. That was pretty funny at times." And I was like, "Oh, this just reminded me of Bringing Up Baby." I'm like, I got to show that to Megan.
So the next one on my list is one of my all-time favorite films. I mean, this film is damn near perfect. It's from 1951. Of course, it's the 1951, the original version, not the weird-ass CGI version starring Keanu Reeves and Will Smith's son. This is The Day the Earth Stood Still from 1951. An alien lands in Washington, D.C. to tell the people of Earth that they must begin to live peacefully or they will be destroyed because they are going to be too dangerous to stay around because they might be a danger to other planets. It's a early 1950s like anti-nuclear war film, basically, saying you must surrender your weapons, surrender your warlike ways, or we're going to wipe you out for the betterment of the rest of the universe. Early films that make us that the humans are the pests of the universe. Stars
we can't argue with that.
Stars Michael Rennie as Klaatu, Patricia Neal as the Earth Woman that he befriends. He befriends her and her son. Then there's the wily old crazy Professor Bernhardt, played by Sam Jaffe, who he befriends in order to get him to help him to be able to speak to all the world's leaders. You got the big old robot Gort, who is the protector of Klaatu and his spaceship. And you get one of my favorite gibberish lines of all time, Klaatu Verata Nikto, which is the command to tell Gort not to just wipe everybody the fuck out. which was then reused in Army of Darkness with Bruce Campbell as the words he uses to create his magic spell. Klaatu Verata Nikto. This movie's awesome. I can't say enough about this film. It's great acting, really cool special effects for an early film, a great message. It's not very flashy. There's not a lot of, there's a few action scenes in it, but nothing like over the top. It's more like a commentary on, the way we treat each other and all that stuff. It's actually pretty relevant today as it was in 1951. So I'm saying like we haven't really learned much. Since then, so.
No, we haven't.
Great movie though. Dated still. Mike's third one was originally on my list because it was one of my favorite independent films of all time, but I took it off my list because I was very disappointed by a recent film in addition to this one, and I took it off to replace it with something else I'll talk about later. But Mike, why don't you go ahead and talk about this film?
I want to talk about a film that's, can you believe it, damn near 30 years old?
Mm-hmm. Damn
Has
near.
one of the best lines I've ever heard in a movie. 37? My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks in a row?
In a row?
I'm talking about Clerks.
Clerks. My personal favorite line from the film is, "So what? She fucked a dead guy. My mom's been fucking a dead guy for 30 years. I call him Dad."
It's the movie that brought us Jay and Silent Bob.
I'll say it like this: it's the movie that introduced the world to Kevin Smith. It's one of his better movies, I think. Like, a lot of his like later films started getting really goofy.
It's kind of the Cinderella story, He funded the whole thing on the credit cards, and it was a major success.
He sold his comic book. He had to sell his comic book collection.
Sold his comic book collection and maxed out his parents' credit cards to make the film. Yep. But it became
$27,000 budget.
Yeah. Filmed it with his friends.
Opening weekend made $31,665.
Mm-hmm. But then it launched a career that's still going on today, Yep. The reason I took it off my list is because I watched Clerks 3 recently, and it was totally unnecessary. It was depressing and unnecessary. Clerks 2 ended the story perfectly. There was no need for a Clerks 3. And so I took it off my list for that reason, but it's still one of my favorite films, Mike.
It is. It's just one of those. Don't try not to suck your dicks out to the on your way out to the car.
I'm thinking of all the lines in my head right now, like from that film that I love, like when when they go to the funeral, they close the store to go to the funeral, and he's like, "You knocked over the body." He goes, "So what? She's dead. It's not like she felt it." Jay and Silent Bob are sitting outside, and they do a quick cut, and it's like one of those if you blink you miss it scenes, and he's like, "I don't care if she's my cousin or not. I'm gonna knock them boots tonight." Or my personal favorite, "You're a sexy man, Silent Bob. I'm gonna like line you up with 5 other dudes and make like a circus seal."
Then you got Silent Bob's only line.
What's that? Oh, Silent Bob's only
Silent
line.
Bob's only line. You know, there's a million fine-looking women in the world, dude, but they don't all bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you.
Oh man, it's such a funny movie. It's a good one.
And then there's the ongoing line. I'm not even supposed to be here.
I'm supposed to be here today. You sound like an asshole. You buckle like a belt.
And the whole conversation about the workers on the Death Star.
The Death Star.
You know,
yeah.
As it blew
They were
up.
independent contractors. They knew what they were getting into. He's talking to the woman about the guy that's like sitting there looking at all like the eggs and stuff. And she says, "Oh, I've seen this before. They call it shell shock. It usually happens to high school guidance counselors." And they're like, "Why?" You're like, "Well, if you had a job as useless as his, wouldn't you go crazy?" She goes, "It's good to have a job that means something, gentlemen. That's why I manually masturbate animals for artificial insemination."
Oh God.
It's such a crazy movie. It's so funny.
It is.
Kev, what's your third one there?
I don't know.
I'm getting tired.
I don't know. It's Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, starring Peter Sellers and George C. Scott, done in 1964. It's a classic brought to us by Stanley Kubrick. It was a quirky movie. I hadn't watched it until much, 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 much later in life, like within the past 2 or 3 years. But I thought it was really good. I really thought Peter Sellers did a fantastic job portraying 3 different characters within the movie. And George C. Scott in a role that I wasn't used to seeing him in, a slightly comedic role.
So
you know?
I read in the background there because he didn't want to play it comedically. He wanted to be very serious. So Kubrick would let him act out the scenes how he wants it. And then he would tell him, "Okay, now act out the scene the way I'm telling you to act out the scene." And so he would record the way he wanted him to do it and then use that cut and not tell him that he didn't record the way he wanted to do it. Like he kind of had to trick him into being comedic. You got Sterling Hayden as one of the generals. He's actually the cop in the Godfather that Michael Corleone kills. Yeah. I also like the sudden James Earl Jones on the fighter jet. Kind of like comes out of nowhere. I watched this movie recently. I've seen it before. I think the first time I've seen it was probably in that same film class in college that I saw Freaks in Metropolis. But I rewatched it again recently, and I'm like, it holds up. It's still pretty funny. Like you said, it's quirky. It's not like one of those like laugh out loud comedies. It's more like a cerebral comedy.
Yeah.
Like, "Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room."
Slim Pickens riding that bomb.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of the quotes here. The one where he like goes, "Mein Führer, I can walk," and he stands up out of the wheelchair. It was a mistake. Like Peter Sellers got so like into the character that he jumped up out of the chair, and so he ad-libbed that line. and Kubrick thought it was great, so he left it in. Yeah, it's a strange movie, Dr. Strangelove.
Dr. Strangelove.
If you're somebody who is a Kubrick purist and you want to see all the Kubrick films, definitely got to make sure that's on the list. So
I like that the film led to an actual changes in policy to ensure that the events depicted could never really occur in real life.
Because it's like basically they don't have a plan in place to do anything. So it's like
it's a rogue general who's like, nope, I'm going to bomb Russia and we'll just get our shit over with.
How often can you say that a satirical film made the government rethink its policies?
Yeah.
So I took Clerks off my list because I was like, I can't believe I didn't have this one on there in the first place. But I replaced it with 1974 Mel Brooks classic, Young Frankenstein.
Nice.
A movie that Wilder and Brooks had to fight with the studio to make it black and white. The studio didn't want to do black and white. They didn't think it would sell. Wilder was like, the whole point is that it's a homage to these old Universal monster films. Like, it needs to be in black and white. And it ended up being a hit. So, who was smarter there? Obviously not the studios.
Following in its grandfather's footsteps.
Footsteps. Another highly quotable film. You must be Frederick Frankenstein? Frankenstein? It's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
They told me it was Frankenstein.
You're joking.
Is it also Frederick? No, it's Frederick. Why is it not Frederick?
You must be Igor. No, it's
Igor.
No, it's Igor.
No, it's Igor. They told me it was Igor. Well, they were wrong then, weren't they? Damn your eyes. Too late.
Will you help me with the bags?
You take the blonde, I'll take the one in the turban. One of my favorite scenes in that film is when he locks himself in the cell with the monster after they recapture him. And he's like, no matter what I say, no matter what I do not unlock this door. And then he finally he gets scared. He runs to the door and he's like, open up this door. I'm going to kill you. God damn it, Jesus Christ.
Can't you guys take a joke?
Hey, good looking. And then the monster goes, huh? Great film, man. Great performance from Peter Boyle as the monster. And
there's always the question.
Yeah.
If the monster got your brain, what did you get from the monster?
Oh, sweet mystery of life, alas, I found you. Oh, you're just like all the other guys, 7 or 8 quick ones, and you're off to brag about it with the bullets. I thought about this the other day. I was when I watched the trailer for History of the World Part 2, the Hulu series.
Yep.
I was trying to think of some of my favorite quotes and scenes and stuff from History of the World Part 1. And honest to God, every single scene that Madeline Kahn is in is a fucking classic scene. There is not one scene that Madeline Kahn's in History of the World that I don't laugh at.
No.
Would you guys step on the same feet at the same time? My tits are falling off. And it continues in Young Frankenstein too. Like, she's amazing in every scene she's in. I love the scene with Gene Hackman, of course, as the blind man. A scene that he did uncredited because he happened to be in the studio, and Mel Brooks asked him if he would, like to do this cameo performance. Gene Hackman had never done comedy before, so he decided he'd give it a shot. And it turns into a classic comedy scene that ends with the line, "I was going to make espresso," which Gene Hackman actually ad-libbed on the spot. Great scene, man. Great movie. You have next on yours there, Mike?
I have A Hard Day's Night from 1964.
Yes.
The Beatles. Pretty much a very a 2-hour long music video for the whole album.
Yeah.
Well, it was nominated for an Oscar.
It was.
I think it was nominated for 2. Go back to it.
It's it's one of those. It's weird because it's kind of like almost like a mockumentary kind of thing, like Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
Whereas like you're following the Beatles, but
there's comedy to it.
There's comedy to it. There's like
nominated
weird hijinks
for Best Writing, Story, and Screenplay written directly for screen, and Best Music scoring of music and adaptation.
Yeah.
Of course, it's for best music. Jesus Christ, think about
the
it.
Beatles. Yeah,
the Beatles.
But like you said, it's supposed to be like a documentary, but there is a script. Because it is filmed to be sort of like a comedy. It's a good. I like
there is sort of a storyline to it.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
What's better?
One of my favorite scenes is where
Go ahead, I'm listening.
One of my favorite scenes is when they're with all the reporters, and the reporters are asking questions like to John. The one he's like, "How'd you find America?" Turned left at Greenland. Or to Paul, "Do you often see your father?" "No, actually, we're just good friends."
Which is better, Mike?
That was Paul's answer to every question. "No, actually, we're just good friends."
Hard Day's Night, Help, or Yellow Submarine?
Hard Day's Night.
I think I'd have to agree. Help is really weird. Help is like the Beatles doing a Monkees movie.
Which is weird because the Monkees are doing Beatles movies.
Yeah. And then Whale Submarine there's not enough acid in the world.
There are drugs. There are drugs. Hard Day's Night by far, yeah. I love that movie.
Kev, what's your next one there?
My next one is a silent movie from 2011, 2012?
Mm-hmm.
2000, yes. It's The Artist, which had starred Jean
Desjardins.
Jean Desjardins, Berenice Bejo, and John Goodman, but it also had other big names in it, like James Cromwell, Penelope Ann Miller, Malcolm McDowell, Missy Pyle. You guys all remember Missy Pyle.
Yeah, I remember her from Dodgeball playing.
Yes.
She was Stella Davidovici.
And it was interesting. I saw this in the theater. A friend of mine wanted to see what all the hubbub was about. It's a musical silent film,
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I understand why they didn't pursue it, like they didn't continue, because I think it was just an homage to the silent films of the 1920s and 30s. Yeah.
So I got a new answer to the question, what's an overhyped movie that I refuse to see?
The Artist.
The Artist. I mean, I've seen it since it came out on video, but I didn't go to the theater to see it.
Right.
So let me ask you this question, Kev. It won the Oscar for Best Picture that year.
Mm-hmm.
It was up against these other films: The Descendants, which starred George Clooney, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, which was a 9/11 film.
With Tom Hanks.
The Help with Emma Stone and Octavia Butler. Hugo, which was a Martin Scorsese film. Midnight in Paris.
Right.
Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and War Horse. Did The Artist deserve Best Picture?
No. I would have brought it to either Midnight in Paris or Moneyball, or what was the other one you'd said that?
Descendants, Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Tree of Life, and War Horse.
Yeah, no, those are the three I would have.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I would have narrowed it down. I love Midnight in Paris. That's one of my favorite movies too.
But The Help was also
a good movie. But I think Moneyball was the best picture that year.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think you got it because this was just the epitome of artsy fartsy.
Yeah, I think it was just it was the Oscars loving themselves again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, look how smart we are. We picked a silent film from 2011. So I decided to end my list with a happy-go-lucky film from 1993 called Schindler's List. A film that I think needed to be filmed in black and white, mainly to kind of underscore the horrors and not exploit them. As if you made a film like that in color, it just would have been too much, I think.
Yeah.
Plus, it also gives it that sort of like old school feel. Almost feels like an older film, even though it's a newer one. I've talked a lot about this before because we talked about it on the Spielberg episode and some other episodes. So I'm not going to say too much about it. But Schindler's List is by far a classic, a great film, Oscar winner for Best Picture in 1994. brought us Ray Fiennes and Liam Neeson. Made them stars. So there's not much else I can say about it. But that's my list: Metropolis, Freaks, The Day the Earth Stood Still, Young Frankenstein, and Schindler's List. Mike, what's the last one on your list?
My other John Wayne film and another John Ford directed film. Also stars Henry Fonda and Shirley Temple. It is Fort Apache.
Yeah, I was looking at
one
the
of the
trailer for
taglines
this
is
one.
John's masterpiece of the frontier. It's actually one of what they would call his trilogy with John Wayne. Of the because it goes from there, and John Wayne plays the same character after that in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. Then after that, it's Rio Grande. It's the 3 films. But this one would be my favorite of the 3. Even though, Maureen O'Hara's in She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, but
yeah, and it's what, it's more like a Civil War film kind of than like a straight up Western.
It's a cavalry film back, and it's out towards the it's after the Civil War. So it's more the cavalry out when they're taking the West and stuff like that, out in Arizona and trying to tame the Indians.
It did not get any Oscar nominations though.
No, it did not.
It's funny when I find it funny to see a picture that had Shirley Temple in it that had nothing to do with being a cutesy little kid film.
Well, because she wasn't a cutesy little kid then. She was grown up in this film.
She plays Philadelphia Thursday.
She does. And her father is Henry Fonda, Lieutenant Colonel Owen Thursday.
Philadelphia Thursday. Yeah, no, I'm looking for a picture of her.
There's a whole thing about them asking.
There she is. Yeah. Yeah, she's like a teenager in this film.
Yeah.
Fort Apache. I've not seen this one, and it's not for like a lack of like not liking John Ford and John Wayne films. It's just it's not one that I've got around to yet.
I recommend it.
So what was your
one of your favorite is not black and white though. So
what's that?
Sons of Katie Elder was not black and white.
That's not black and white. But I do like Stagecoach a lot as far as like a black and white John Wayne film goes. That's one of my favorites. What was your list again, Mike?
My list again was Casablanca, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Clerks, A Hard Day's Night, and Fort Apache.
And that brings us to Kevin's last pick of the evening.
Yes, and not that I struggled, but I really wanted to kind of diversify my list, so I looked for something else that was more recent, and I recalled that Marvel produced Werewolf by Night for Disney Plus. That came out beginning of October, which it's a story that follows a lycanthrope superhero who fights evil using the abilities given to him by a curse brought on by his bloodline. It's filmed in black and white. There are elements of color, like the device, the
stone that they're looking for in the episode.
Yes, the stone that they're looking for it's the only color that you see, at least in the beginning. The whole movie continues in black and white until probably the very end, in which it changes. It kind of does a little, thing where it just converts. Right, Wizard of Oz cuts to color.
It's the it's like it's a real, like, definitely like a throwback to the Universal monster films.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I can tell you this about it: we need more Ted.
Yeah, need a little more Ted. I was angry. I was angry at myself for not thinking of this one, because that was a really. I did a mini pod on it because I thought it was such a good film. And yeah, it's definitely probably the most recent black and white film, at least ones that I could think of. I mean, there was that film Roma on Netflix a couple years ago, which was black and white. What were you gonna say, Kevin?
I was going to say it's actually directed by Michael Giacchino, who I know as just a composer of music. He's done lots of compositions, but I was surprised to see his directing chops, and they were really, really good.
This was, I think it was his debut, directorial debut, yeah. So what was your list again?
So my list was Arsenic and Old Lace, Bringing Up Baby, Dr. Strangelove, The Artist, and Werewolf by Night.
So for you people listening out there, obviously you can see that we didn't go with like a list of like greatest black and white films. We picked our own personal favorites for this list, and I think it was a lot of fun that way, doing it like that.
Yeah,
I did throw in an honorable mention though. Go ahead, Mike.
That's it. My one thing was trying to get a list together that not all of us would have the same movies, because a lot of times the three of us like the same movies, especially since it's a smaller category of black and white movies. So I thought it made it a little bit more challenging to make sure we didn't all get the same movie.
And like I said, I eliminated a couple from my list because I wanted to make room for other ones. So it was like, it was, you had to kind of think about this a little bit. I did throw in there an honorable mention for the opening and closing sequences of The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
classic black and white cinema with this amazing Technicolor added into the middle of it, which was very inventive for 1939.
Did I read correctly that when they did the scene, I know they shot the intro in sepia, but when they did the scene of her opening the door to Oz from the house, that was all painted in sepia, and then as they opened it, that's how that's how you got that conversion.
Yeah, I read that somewhere too. I'm not sure what how true that is or not. I'd have to dig a little deeper into it, but I remember reading that recently, and I think it was right before we did the pause movie scenes episode last week that I had seen that. I'll have to look it up and see if that's really true or not. Mike, any closing alcohol knowledge for us this evening?
I got some beer trivia for you. A ripe banana contains as much alcohol as many beer legally classified as non-alcoholic, up to 0.5% by volume.
Nice. Start eating some more ripe bananas.
Yeah.
Anybody have any final thoughts on their drinks this evening?
My first stout was delicious, and I moved on to the last Sam Adams Jacko Pumpkin Ale I had in my fridge. And that was also delicious.
Mike?
Well, my drink was very good, even though it was supposed to just to be a shot, but I made it into a whole glass. So I'm feeling pretty good right now.
It's hard to go wrong with coffee and Irish cream, so I'm okay. Let's see here. Thank you for joining us for episode 91. That's right? Yes, 91. Right there in black and white. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget to drop us a line at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. Make sure you check out some of the podcasts that we announce in our shout out section. They deserve as much support as we hope you would like to give to us. But don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next week as we present episode 92. We're diving back into the recasting pool as the three of us decided we are going to recast the 1980s comedy classic Clue. So thanks for joining us, and make sure you come by next week to hear that episode. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Are you sure you're not Kevin?
I'm pretty sure I'm Leo.
No, I could be Mike right now. I don't even know.
That's Kevin. That's Mike. That's Leo. That was Kevin's wife
that
popped in a little while ago. Her name's Megan. My wife's in the other room on the phone with Mike's wife.
Yeah.
So we're all here, and we're going home now. See you all later.
Yep.
Goodbye. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Oh, my head. Jesus.
What?
Did he hit himself in the face twice with the microphone?
Oh.
Right there, Mike.
Yeah, I was doing other things while I was waiting for you guys. Do a little painting.
Oh, what'd you paint?
D&D characters.
Ah, okay.
I was just guessing that.
Yep.
I thought it was a little sailboat on the water.
No sailboats.
No.
Did you guys like it if I did a live COVID test on the
Oh, Jesus.
Why do you think you have
Problems?
COVID?
There's so I got a bit of a head cold, but it's everybody at work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people at work have dropped like flies, and it's like, I don't know.
Well,
I don't feel
it's
like
going for the Philadelphia school district.
You
Yeah.
can. We can say it's an unprecedented moment in podcast history as we have our first live COVID test.
Because
I don't want to go crazy with it.
yeah. I read the first 3 questions and went, are we doing it like, Ghostbusters?
That's what I
Do
was
you
thinking
enjoy-
when I was reading it. When I was writing it, I was like, "Wow, it sounds like the Ghostbusters commercial."
Do you enjoy movies? Do you enjoy adult television?
Don't wait another minute. Call us now. We're the Ghostbusters.
Do you enjoy adult beverages? Do you
Yeah.
enjoy adult movies?
Oh, feel
Have you
free.
ever-
Not adult movies.
Adult movies. Do you enjoy adult movies? Do you enjoy kids' beverages?
With that scene from Airplane when the kid was up in the cockpit with Roger. Tell me, Timmy, have you ever sat on a grown man's lap?
Speaking about adult movies, Lee, you're a cryptologist, right?
I'm a what?
Cryptologist?
Yeah, cryptozoologist, yeah.
So I was listening to which one? I think it was All Hallows Eve, one of their older ones.
Mhm.
And they did cryptids. And one was called the Yukon Beaver Eater.
That does sound like an adult film.
Yeah.
Well, he's also going through. He goes, they would go by and they would flip up their houses and eat the exposed beaver.
And they spend the rest of the night picking the hair out of their teeth. Wow, we didn't even start the show yet. We're already off the rails. That's pretty good. That's a record for us.
It's been a long week.
It's Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear.
He's a beaver eater.
A Yukon Beaver Eater.
Yeah.
You have the script in front of you.
Yep.
You want to do a run through first, see how it sounds, and then we can do the real.
Might as well. Either way.
I'm recording either way, so I can take whichever one's the best version of it, I guess.
Yep.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna find some music or something that I could put into it too. All right, so I'll start then. Feel free to be as hammy as you'd like to be. This is supposed to be something that gets people to listen. Do you enjoy movies?
Do you enjoy adult beverages?
Do you enjoy conversations that could go off the rails at any second?
If you said yes to any of these questions, then you should check out the Films and Fermentation podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're 3 friends
who like to talk shit about movies
while getting shit-faced. So join us every week as we discuss interesting movie topics like best ensemble films, most paused moments in cinema, and the occasional movie review, plus so much more.
And when you add drinking, we do during the show, you have no idea where these conversations could go.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, YouTube, or wherever you go to listen to your shows. You can also visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. We'll be waiting for you to join us weekly at the crossroads between pickled and fermented. Cheers.
Cheers.
You think, should we do one more?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think I might cut out the we do during the show.
What are you going to say?
When you edit drinking, you have no idea where this conversations could go.
Okay, well,
I kind of stumbled over that part.
Okay, there, Richard Harris.
I'm just saying I did.
That's when Richard Harris played English Bob in Unforgiven. He had to pull Clint Eastwood aside during one scene because he said the line was just not working for him. Hey everybody, welcome back to Films and Fermentation. This is episode 91 as we continue season 5. Episode 91, right there in black and white. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Kevin.
You are.
I'm sorry,
are you?
I'm Kevin.
No, you're not.
It's already started.
Lies.
Man. Jesus Christ.
Lies.
And the glass full of lies.
It's already started. Let's try this again. Take 2. I gotta get a clapboard to start doing this with. I'm Mike.
I'm Judas.
I'm Cubby.
I'm drunk.